Good morning and welcome to the Heartway End of Life Practitioner Training Q&A. This time's for you, and it's for you to explore and ask questions about our upcoming End of Life Practitioner Training Program. I want you to feel comfortable and ask questions, anything that's on your mind. Write it in the chat and I'll make sure I get to your questions. I will, in a minute or two, kind of give an overview of the program. And I am just so thrilled to share this with you. Forgive me, let me introduce myself. My name is Dr. Dearhart, and I have the honor of being the founder of the Heartway, Embracing Life Through Honoring Death. And this program is accumulation of 35 years of being an end-of-life practitioner. I started back when I was in my 20s as a hospice volunteer, and then became a hospice social worker, and left in the 90s to develop and expand the concept of hospice. At that particular time, we were turning over a lot of the care to insurance companies and Medicare, and the focus of hospice shifted, and I felt the heart and soul was being lost in that. So I've been dedicated all these years to bringing the heart and soul, compassion, and having the opportunity to have choices at the end of life. So this training program is accumulation of all that and putting out there a training that will help people care for those at the end of life and their loved ones, whether it's a love of your own or it's a profession of yourself. So that's a little bit of the foundation of the End of Life Practitioner Training Program. Please let me know where you're from if you come on and what questions you might have to ask. I'm going to now share with you a document and go over kind of the foundation of the training program and maybe answer a few of your questions up front. It is a very dense and rich program, and I couldn't be more thrilled to share it with you. So let me get this document up for you. There we go. Excellent. Okay, so the End of Life Practitioner Training Program is really designed to give a historical, an ethical, a mythological, psychological, religious, spiritual, and clinical understanding of end-of-life care. That's a lot. But when I was writing this program and I looked back on my years of supporting people at the end of life, I asked myself these questions. Why is this helpful? What am I actually doing in supporting people at the end of life? And what are they needing? And where does that come from? Many, many other questions. But the answer to that question was end of life environment requires access to all layers and essences of our being, from the practical, the spiritual, the psychological, and a lot of love and presence. So I think personally, one of the most important aspects of being an end-of-life practitioner is really learning how to hold sacred space. And learning how to hold sacred space truly means learning about ourselves and learning how to get out of the way or reduce our projections and truly be present. That's when someone feels loved. That's when someone feels supported. Working with a client the other day, a wife was feeling really scared and disappointed in herself because her husband was struggling, and she felt she was letting him down. I said, that's impossible, because you're here loving him, and love is truly what we really need at the end of life. And I might add at any time in life, but especially at the end of life. Nobody's talking about how much money they made or what trip they went on or what material goods they have. They're talking about the love relationships they had, how they loved, how they felt loved, maybe where they didn't love in, but truly is about the love we create and experience in this life. So let me get into some more details of the training program. This training program utilizes many learning modalities, including didactic, self-directed learning, inquiry, case reviews, oral and written examination, peer-to-peer learning, dialogue, case studies, and reflective practices. Again, it was very important to provide a strong foundation for practitioners to have many experiences so that when they are with families, they feel very prepared to support them in all the needs. The study of death, as I've been expressing, is unavoidably multidisciplinary. Accordingly, contributions from medicine, the humanities, the social sciences are all found in their relevant content in this training. Each module you'll be taking is designed to develop essential clinical competencies, strengthen an individual's capacity for compassionate service, and enhance personal spiritual development. They go hand in hand. This course offers an approach to care that is compassion-focused and relationship-centered. We utilize a range of learning modalities to address both the personal and the professional development, emphasizing experiential learning and pragmatic applications. Yes, there'll be a lot of book knowledge, but there'll also be that experiential learning and pragmatic. You'll learn how to. This program seeks to prepare the participant with the knowledge and skills and presence needed to address the practical, the heuristic, the psychosocial, and spiritual dimensions of dying. The curriculum is designed to provide that historical, ethical, mythological, psychological, religious, spiritual, and clinical understanding of end-of-life care. All are a part of us, and all are important in understanding how to support someone at the end of life. This training is an important source of learning and information for those who are dedicated to transforming the environment around care for the end of life. Each module will design to develop clinical competencies, strengthen your capacity for compassionate care, and enhance personal and spiritual development, as I mentioned. The purpose of the program is to expand upon the conventional medical model approach to care by offering content not generally addressed in most of the clinical trainings. The scope of training. Students will be trained for a scope of practice that includes end-of-life counseling, end-of-life care, and that is really death doula skills and competencies. So when you graduate from this program, you will be a death doula, plus much more. You also will learn to become part of a multidisciplinary team that includes hospice, palliative care, caregivers, families, and end-of-life patients with the intention of creating sovereignty, compassion, and the highest quality of life and death. We're never an island. We need each other. It's a very important skill for a practitioner, learning how to collaborate with the medical teams, with families, extended family members, and caregivers. Remember, the bottom line goal is that ultimate loving care and support for the dying. You will be competent in advocating, counseling, end-of-life care, and practices such as vigil, end-of-life rituals, yoga nidra, graceful transitions, and to help ease the challenges that arise with dying and death. This program is a 2-level program, and it's meant for frontline nurses, social workers, clinicians, clinical leaders, therapists, home and family caregivers, death doula and aspiring doulas, healing arts professionals, hospice and palliative care volunteers, and all that are called to embrace life through honoring death. Let's get into the nitty-gritty of the program as well. I'm so sorry I didn't scroll for you so you can read on your own. Here we are, though, the program overview. Students will attend monthly online classes. Level 1 is a 3-month intensive online training program. During Level 2 training, students will attend a 5-day intensive in-person, followed by 2 months live online program, while expanding their academic and clinical skills by working with clients and patients under the direction of a clinical supervisor per the requirements of the program. This training utilizes an interprofessional model, which includes a variety of instructional methods, including experiential, research, theoretical, group work, and case studies. I know you're interested in this. The cost. Level 1 is $24.99. It's 70 hours contact, and the program hours total is 200. So you're going to see you have some work on your own. It's 3 months, and it's live online. Here are the dates for you. First session starts October 14th to the 18th from 8 to 5:30. Session 2 is November 13th and 14th. And forgive me, session 3, there's a typo there, is in December. And that date, let me get that for you right now. Thank goodness for technology. I can just whip this out, I hope. The December training is, let's see, December 4th and 5th. I wanted to do it early enough so you still had plenty of time for Christmas. All right, sorry for that typo. Level 2 is the same cost, and it will be in spring of 2022. Cost is $24.99, 70 contact hours, and program hours, a total of 300. This is a 3-month online program as well, except the first one will be in person in Nevada City, May 12th through the 16th. So that gives you some time to prepare for travel. And I was hoping the first session of Level 1 would be in person, but with the pandemic and all that's going on, I just wasn't sure a year ago when I was developing my dates if we could meet in person. And I'm so glad I put this online. It's expanded it to many people around. And I'm happy to say we have just a few spots left, so I'm excited to see who they will be. And keeping the class size small, I want it to be intimate. I want you to be able to get your questions answered, and I want to help you develop competent skills in yourself. So we will take 15 students, probably as my max for the first time around. So let me check in to see if there's any questions. I'm sorry, I kind of talked a lot, but I wanted you to have a kind of foundation. And welcome, we got someone from Denmark, and Judy, welcome. Brigitte, welcome. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the chat about the program. It's quite extensive and it's very difficult to put in just a few words in a document, but I hope that was helpful for clarity. And I'm open to any questions that come across your mind. But I do want to respond to one question that's always asked. What's the difference between an ELP, end-of-life practitioner, and a death doula? Well, in a nutshell, an end-of-life practitioner is a death doula, but a death doula may not be an end-of-life practitioner. The difference, I believe, lies within the educational background and the scope of practice. A death midwife or death doula is a person who assists the dying process, much like a midwife or doula does in the birthing process. Their services are often directed to helping families cope with death and restore sacredness to dying, provide respite to exhausted caregivers, and bring deep meaning to the dying experience. And often they're trained in in-home funerals. An end-of-life doula is a non-medical professional trained to provide non-medical comfort and support the dying person and their loved one in the final days, weeks, and months of life. Training program for the death doulas range from a weekend course to a several monthly online course. An end-of-life practitioner is all of the above, is trained as a death doula, and is highly trained in skills that involve providing practical, psychological, social, and spiritual support for the dying and the caregivers. As I mentioned before, the competencies are learning advocacy skills, counseling, end-of-life care practices like vigils and end-of-life rituals, in-home funerals, Tonglen, yoga nidra, care planning, and death doula skills. You'll also be trained in assisting families with advanced directives. You'll understand the laws and ethics around end-of-life. End-of-life legacy work as well, helping the dying expand their legacy, create a legacy, either through video recordings, through writings, through storytelling, through filming, a whole bunch of beautiful opportunities to help someone develop an understanding of what's important to them in their life, what would they like to share, and what would they like to leave behind. You also, as an end-of-life practitioner, will be trained in mortuary, funeral, and memorial planning. You'll be able to also officiate these services if that's something that you're moved to do in your life. Becoming an end-of-life practitioner is usually a calling, and we might call that a dharma in Eastern philosophy, something you're called to do in your life. You might not even have the words to express why you want to do this. It's a beautiful calling, often a selfless calling, and one that is so needed. As the world ages and as we have an older population, there's more and more need for support at the end of life. If things don't quite change in our current healthcare system, we won't be able to support the dying. We're seeing a little bit of that breakdown right now with COVID and the challenges we're running into with supporting those that are dying during this time. For example, there have been times this last year and a half where the mortuaries were so full and weren't allowed to cremate enough bodies that people had to keep their loved one home for days before the mortuaries could come. It's part of what an end-of-life practitioner can help families to do, train them how to take care of their loved ones' bodies before they reach their final resting place. The end-of-life practitioner educational curriculum is designed to really be deep and to have a broad breadth of practice. And I'm really pleased to say we really cover the essences of what is important to know in serving those at the end of life. Okay. I hope that was helpful in giving you a depth and breadth of the end-of-life practitioner program. I can't even share with you the excitement of sharing this with all of you and you bringing this out into the world. It is, there are no words to describe what it feels like to support people at the end of life. And it's very intimate, very, very special, and so needed out there. So I see there's a couple questions, so let me get to those, and thank you for inquiring. Hi, Judy, and Judy will be in our program. Welcome. I'm glad you're here listening on. What will take place during level 2 in Nevada City? That's a secret. No, just kidding. The reason why I want to have an in-depth program, the first one, is because I want to do a lot of hands-on training. So, for example, we'll learn how to take care of a body at the end of life. I also want us to all meet so we can deepen our connection and continue our support as peers once we finish the program. There will be hands-on experiential exercises that we'll do at this time. And we'll do a lot of one-on-one practicing together, role playing. I want to have that opportunity to be live with each other. What does it feel like to touch a body? We'll also hopefully have a mortuary visit during that time and watch and understand what a mortuary does to cremate a body or embalm a body. So those are the type of practices I want to do within those 5 days. I hope that's helpful. If you have additional questions, let me know, Judy. Um, Lisa, while I honor everyone's reasoning for pricing, can you please expand on why your training is at least 1,000 more than any other ones I have seen offered? What is that you offer that others do not? Thanks for asking, Lisa, and I don't mind at all that type of question. It's also a difficult process for me, um, money. So we are a nonprofit organization, the Heart Way, and we do not charge for services. We will be reviewing models of business at the end of the program, giving you several models of how you might approach your business of end of life practitioner, whether you want to go nonprofit, whether you want to go sliding scales, or you want to go fee for service, whether you integrate with hospices. So the cost of our program was we came to that price, if you will, based on several things. First of all, if you get a chance to look at other programs, which it sounds like you have, Lisa, this program is far more in depth, has more online, not so much in person, but online in person sessions that we work together. There's an incredible amount of materials that you will be offered. It has been a 3-year writing and in the making. And I did do a survey of the other programs out there, and the range of pricing was somewhere between $2,500 and a few $100s. So I don't know if I have a solid reason for you, except to know that we felt it was a very, very fair pricing for the skill set, the materials, and the trainings that you would receive. And if you recall, because my heart is to never turn anybody away, that we offer scholarships as well. And I want you to know the funds that are generated through this training program go directly to the Heartway, directly to servicing clients at the end of life, directly to offering the free programs that we do in the community, like Yoga Nidra and the Death Cafe, into the Mystic Book Club, and those programmings. So the price helps support the Heartway in its work in offering services to the community. I hope that is helpful. So I want to answer specifically what we offer that others might not. It's a hard question to answer because I don't want to be egoic about it. I want to be grounded in it. And I think there is not another program that is as in depth. I haven't found another program that offers a mythology of death, for example. I'm a cultural mythology, and I could not share the ancient myths of death and how they inform our lives and how understanding them helps us practice. I also haven't found a program that has an in-depth cultural and religious module that goes over the Abrahamic religions, the Asian traditions, and the indigenous traditions, and their practices and their rituals and their understandings and their beliefs with death, dying, and beyond. So that's part of what I've integrated in that I didn't see out there, that are part of my educational background, that I believe help me significantly inform my practices. I want to share one story, if I might, Lisa, that is very helpful, was helpful for me, and is bringing the practical and the reality together. I was working with a beautiful Islamic family a few years back, and the patriarch was coming to the end of his life. And in Islamic traditions, it's very family oriented and very extended family. And often my sessions at the house involved a dozen to 25 family members asking questions and trying to find their way around this experience of dying. And there was one time when I was with the matriarch by herself, and we were coming closer to the end of life, and this family um, was having their process of understanding that he was dying. Some were not believing he was dying, some were not, some were. So it was a conundrum. But I wanted to understand their belief in death and burial, because those were important things right now. I had enough knowledge to know that in Islamic traditions, they believe the soul carries on, and they believe that they are supported and loved and nurtured afterlife. And there are also extensive rituals in burial, from prayer to bathing the body in milk, etc. So I said to this beautiful woman, I said, I was wondering if you could help share with me what your belief is in death and dying in the afterlife. I only know a little bit, and I want to make sure I support you and the family. So she did, and she shared her belief systems and helped me understand a whole bunch of important aspects. So she said to me, they keep the loved one at home till family members can be there to say goodbye. There's extensive prayers. They have to be buried in a burial center that will provide Islamic traditions. And I said to her, I wanted to make sure she knew that those rituals can be practiced, that he can be kept at home. The rituals can take place at home, and whatever you need, and to please share with me so I can support you. Well, she burst out into tears and she said, really? I said, absolutely. Let's make a plan. Oh, nobody, she was on hospice, he was on hospice care. Nobody had taken the time to ask those questions and understand, and we were able to carry those through. So me having a little bit understanding of how different cultures are and religions and their practices at the end of life helped me make the right inquiry, or helpful inquiry. I don't know if there's a right inquiry, a helpful inquiry to help them love their loved one at the end of life and honor their religious practices. I was so grateful for that, and we did get to utilize those practices, and it ended up being a really precious experience for all. Difficult, but precious. I hope that's helpful. Judy, your question about cultural diversity, communities, LGBTQ, while honoring their traditions, absolutely. That is definitely part of the training. And diversity, inclusiveness is critical to being a practitioner out there. You don't have to know it all, for sure. We have to learn what the proper questions might be, the inquiry, and having a solid background will help us feel more and more comfortable. Yeah. Is that helpful? And let me know if you need me to expand in any way. So the question Judy has, will you be able to use ELP after our names when we finish this course? Absolutely. You will see it's after my name. Yes, you can be an ELP. And the beauty is ELP is just starting to come into the industry. I'm seeing more and more end-of-life practitioner as the umbrella for end-of-life practitioners, like doulas, like social workers that work at the end of life, like palliative care people. So palliative care is the umbrella, with hospice care in that umbrella. Palliative care is not hospice care necessarily, but hospice care is always palliative care. In fact, that's a module I just finished writing, we will be talking about. So yes. Yeah. Beautiful. Good. Wonderful. Any other questions that are moving through you all? These are great questions, and I hope helpful to bring some clarity to this program. It's a very full program, and it's hard to communicate everything that is in there. But I couldn't be more thrilled to share it with you all. And I hope and pray that it offers service to those at the end of life and their loved ones. Lisa, happy to answer your other question. You were referred to me. Yes. I also saw that you were on NETA's site. However, I did not notice anything stating NETA proficiency on your website. Do you cover that? Thank you for asking. Yes, I'm on the NETA, the Heartway's on the NETA site, and so am I, and I'm excited about that. I think I'll be speaking at one of their events coming up. I haven't had time to do their proficiency test, so that is something we will talk about at the end of the program, what organizations you can reach out to and connect with and collaborate with. It always takes a village. And Nelda also has a competency that you can take. I've done their training, actually their weekend course, and there were only enough hours in the day. I decided to put it into the ELP training. But how important it is, we can talk about that in the program. Bottom line, you can get as many initials after your name, as many educational programs under your belts. But the bottom line is how you serve. The bottom line is how you show up in the industry, how you serve. And in part of the marketing unit, we'll talk and learn about ways to market yourself, ways to be known. How do you get into the industry? How do you infiltrate in the industry? How do you be known in your community as someone that is trustworthy, that someone can call and reach out to you when they're in trouble? We'll learn all about that. So proficiencies and letters, in our culture, they're necessary. In our culture, they're necessary. But you can decide that, what feels important to you. And for me, it was important to invest in our program. And I'm also the founder of the Heartway and see clients and run that. So we get proficiency in so many ways, from practice, from reading, and from testing. And I think they're all valid. I don't know if one outweighs the other. So I hope that was helpful, Lisa, in answering your question. And you remind me of another question, Lisa, that moves through me. Is there the perfect program? Is there the right program? Is there one way to be an end-of-life practitioner or a death doula? Is there one way to die? Is there a good way to die? Is there a bad way to die? For me, the answer is no. There's so many. And what our intention is to find you in this training. Yeah, you'll get some solid information and knowledge, but it's to find how you want to serve and how we can collaborate and create interdisciplinary teams. I believe in integration. I don't believe it's end-of-life practitioners and the medical model. We absolutely need each other. We're starting to work with hospices, which is beautiful. I know Judy works with a hospice as well. And we truly want to integrate those programs together or those services together. Because again, what's the goal? The goal is to provide the most loving and compassionate and supportive environment for those at the end of life and their families. And we need each other's to do it. If I were to draw some circles, the center being the dying, the family and the caregivers as a network, the practitioners as an outward network, is that we all spiral together and we need each other to provide that. Because bottom line, it's that center circle. How do they want to die? How do they want to love? What are they needing to live until their very last moment? And that's what we're all about. So that's also why it's so difficult to train, because there are There isn't a sentence I can give you or a paragraph or actually one book, even though I've written that. That'll be helpful and that'll be supportive. But we die in a million ways, and we die the same as well. The heart stops. But what are our goals? What are our intentions? And why do you want to be an end-of-life practitioner? We'll talk about some of that in the program, of course. Yeah. Let me peek in to see if there's any other questions. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing. And, you write that it's a new practice, and it is, and it's an ancient practice. I have to share with you, clients will often say to me, I couldn't have done it without you. I'm always touched beyond words. And I respond like this: oh, yes, you can. And yes, you could have. And it's such an honor to walk by your side. Such an honor. I say you can because we all know how to do this. It's our natural God-given right and instinct. Sigmund Freud would call that the death instinct. We know how to do this. We've forgotten. And because of certain technological, medical, scientific, we've removed the experience of dying and put it somewhere else. We don't experience that every day. Some cultures still do, but we don't. We don't take care of our loved ones like our ancestors did. Our grandparents probably still did that. So it's new from a medical model. It's new with infiltrating how we care for the dying now, which is a medical model of death. But it's ancient, and it's in our blood. It's in our instincts. It's who we are. So the sweetness is we're just relearning. And those of us that become end-of-life practitioners get to help in that relearning process. We can be teachers, we can be supporters, we can handhold. But the goal is that we all can do this for ourselves. The pandemic was really an extraordinary gift. It kept us apart and yet close at the same time. I wasn't able to go see clients for a long time. I wasn't able to be with the family member that had to keep their loved one at home because they couldn't be picked up by a mortuary after they died. So I had to teach. I had to turn it over to them. And you know what? They did brilliantly. They did brilliantly. They had the support. I held a hand from afar. I taught. And then I turned it over. I let it go. I think that's a primary goal of an end-of-life practitioner. Yeah, we can be, I don't want to be needed, in other words. I'm happy to support. But I want us to have the belief. And we're so scared. We just don't. So I see that as one of our goals as practitioners, is to re-educate and let everybody know you've got this. I'm here for you if you need, but you've got this. Because it's really about them, not us. We get the privilege of walking by their side. And I really get, Lisa, the calling. This is my Dharma. I don't know if I can explain it, but it's been my Dharma for over 35 years. And I learn every single day. And it inspires my life every single day. So grateful. And I hope for those of you who are going to join us in the ELP program that you walk away feeling the same. At the very least, may it serve you in your embracing of life and your honoring of death. Any other questions that are moving through you? And did I miss anything? Mm. All right. Thank you all so much for joining us. I know I could go on and on in the program, but I want to keep this to the point. You're so welcome for the time. I've seen some thank yous, and it's such an honor. I am thrilled to start this program and to walk by your sides, to empower all of you to be all that you can be and to serve. Yeah. Don't hesitate. Reach out. You can find me on the Heartway website. My email is dearheart@theheartway.org, and I'm happy to answer any questions wherever you go in life, whether you take the program or not. I really do believe we need each other. Please take the bestest care of you. We're still moving through challenging times in our world with a pandemic and all kinds of things moving through. Be well, be love, be you. With love from my heart to yours.